Go ahead. Sorry for
That's okay.
why it's not coming up. It's so weird.
The prospects for open data are wide open, as you can see. We will have slides in a minute. You good? Excellent. Okay, great. Thank you. So, so I'm going to go through maybe around the first half of these. I have to do a Skype call, so I'll be ducking out, and Vivian will take you through the rest. What we're going to do is talk about a project. I'm going to talk a little bit about a project that I'm working on at NYU called the Open Data 500. Tell you a little bit about how that applies both to work going on here and potentially internationally. And then Vivian, I think you're going to go through a number of really excellent examples of how open data is being put to business use. So I'll just tell you a tiny bit about myself. I am the author of this book, OpenDataNow.com. I also run a website called OpenDataNow.com. Which is a free site where I try to keep current on stuff related to the application of open data. I'm not a technologist. My background is as a journalist. I was also in government. I was at the Federal Communications Commission for about 3 years as the head of the Consumer Bureau, and also chaired a White House task force on smart disclosure, which is basically open data for consumer decision making. So what I've been doing for about the last year, I joined an organization at NYU called the GovLab, which is very conveniently located about a block away from here. So I was really delighted, doubly delighted that we were going to be able to meet in this wonderful space. And what we do at the GovLab is we study the relationship of government and citizens and ways to make that better. So the basic underlying theory is that we have 21st century technology and we're still using a 19th century model of government, where what most people do to engage in government is they vote once a year and kind of complain the rest of the time, or occasionally sign a petition, or occasionally get involved. But we don't really have the kind of engagement that's possible with both the technology and the collaborative techniques that all of us use every day in our work. So the idea of the GovLab is to bring that kind of awareness and that kind of application to government in the same way that it's used in business and nonprofits and social media, etc. Now, as part of that, we've gotten very interested in open data, and particularly how open data from government, city, state, or local, can be used by business, by the public, by the nonprofit sector, and by others. And in the Open Data 500, we set out to see if we could identify 500 companies that were either based in the U.S. or had a big presence in the U.S. that used open government data as a key business resource, meaning that if the government did not provide this data, either they would shut down, or a branch of their business would shut down, or they'd have to pay a lot of money to get the same data from somewhere else, or something like that. So I'm going to go through and tell you a little bit about that study, and then Vivian will take you through a number of really great examples of how this all works. So we're going to go through first a little bit about Open Data Now, the Open Data 500, and then some of the cities that are now releasing open government data, and then a number of companies, not only here in New York, but all over the place that are using this. I should say I just got back from a trip to London for a week, where there's tremendous interest in all of this. There's the Open Data Institute is based in London, which was started with a £10 million grant from the UK government. They're doing all kinds of things to really facilitate the commercial use of open data, and there's a lot of other work going on there as well. I've got a call later tonight with Australia. We're getting a lot of, Vivian has wonderfully offered to set up this trip where I'll be in China and Taiwan. So there's just tremendous international interest in all of this as well. So here are some of the things that I said in Open Data Now that I think are actually true. What's interesting about open data is that it really is becoming not only a kind of philosophical commitment to openness and almost to the democratization of data, but it really is becoming a business resource for companies that can have value as large as $1 billion or more, like Zillow or like some of the weather companies, or companies that are just a couple of people with a startup, but that might really grow over time. So it's become, and what's interesting about this is that it's a resource that's free. So whereas a lot of us, I think, or a lot of people have been used to thinking of data, the business value of data as residing in having complete kind of exclusive use of that data. Here's data that's free to anybody, but the value comes from how you apply it and what you do with it. So open data, there are a number of definitions of open data, including some very complete, very good ones done by the Open Knowledge Foundation. But I've used this definition in the book, which is really kind of a use-based definition. I think what's most important about it is the way in which it is available for anybody to use in any way. Open data by definition has to be reusable. It has to not be constrained by licenses that prohibit people from publishing what they do with it. In fact, it has to, not only the data itself, but whatever the products of using the data, it has to be possible for that to be published publicly. So big data and open data are overlap, but are definitely not the same. If you think about big data, some of the classic examples of big data would be the kind of data that Walmart collects on its customers, right? Where you have these massive amounts of data about customer buying habits, about marketing trends, but that's all owned by Walmart or whoever the retailer might be. So there's really no opportunity for that to go out in the open or for people to share that. Or it could be national security data, and without getting into what could be like a 3-hour-long digression about the NSA, in general, national security data is meant by whatever government collects it to be held secret, and it is big data. It enables all kinds of analysis for good or for bad, but it's not meant to be shared with the public. In contrast, open data is all about sharing it with the public. When open data and big data are the same, you get things like the census or Securities and Exchange Commission data, or some of the data on weather or GPS or other kinds of government open data that have had tremendous use. But you can also have very small open data sets that are also very valuable. I've been working on one project at NYU where we're simply trying to get as much data as we can about all the nuclear power plants in the US. Okay, there's only about 70 of them. So it's a very small data set. But if like one of those data points, blows up, it's very significant. So what's important there is not the size of the data set; it's the fact that it's open and that we can find out stuff about it. So what I've done in the book, as Vivian told you, has been to focus largely on business applications, providing a lot of resources. I think there's about 180 businesses covered in the book. But the second half, I also get into some of the issues around government regulation and open data, privacy issues, and other things that really go beyond commercial use as well. So the Open Data 500, as I was saying at the very beginning, is this new initiative that I think really has the potential to make a lot of difference. And I've been very lucky to have a terrific team at the GovLab working on this. It's funded by the Knight Foundation, and you can read about it at opendata500.com. You'll also see a number of infographics that we have there to demonstrate how we're seeing the connections between government open data and the businesses that are starting to use it. And we started this with 3 different kinds of goals. The first was to just provide a basis for figuring out what open data is actually worth. So if you look at some of the estimates on this, McKinsey came out last year and said that open data is worth $3 trillion a year worldwide. That's great, but nobody has any idea if that's true. That is the largest estimate that anybody's come up with. So I think it's a pretty good bet that it's not worth more than that. But that's like 1 or 2 orders of magnitude higher than most of the other estimates out there. And one of the things that struck me last year is that that estimate came out saying open data is worth $3 trillion a year. And at the same time, I would go to conferences on open data, and everybody like kept mentioning the same 6 companies or 10 companies as examples. So like unless each of those companies is worth $500 billion, it wasn't really adding up. So we figured at the GovLab that there must be hundreds, literally hundreds more examples, and that's what we've tried to do. So our hope is that by putting in these examples out there and putting out some detail about them, it'll become possible to really do kind of more accurate and more evidence-based calculations of the value of open data. This is not just an academic exercise. I mean, one of the things about government data in particular, if you ever have the distinctive pleasure/pain of working in the federal government, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly that a lot of the data in federal agencies is really a mess. I mean, it's in it's in legacy systems that are very hard to use. The data itself is often incomplete. It's often inaccurate. There are all kinds of problems. So to turn all of this stuff into really usable, effective, up-to-date, open data is going to take a lot of work. The data is not just going to like open itself. So it's really a fair question, even for those of us like me and like most of us, I think, in this room who are really fans of open data. It's a fair question to ask, what is this time and effort and money going to be worth it? So that's why I think really figuring out the economic value is very important just from a policy point of view if we want to see open data continue to be released. You can't just sort of say, trust us, it's worth something. You have to demonstrate it. Second goal has been to encourage the development of new companies using open data. By putting out 500 examples in about 15 different sectors of the economy, we thought it would just be possible to inspire a lot of people to start using this stuff that up to now they might not have even been aware of. But then the third goal, and in some ways I think possibly the most important, is we really want to get a new kind of dialogue going between the people who provide the data and the people who use it. Some countries have already set this up. The UK has it. Australia has it. The US has had no feedback mechanism. It's like if you are trying to use data from Department of Census or Department of Agriculture or whatever, you have to figure out, and you're having a problem with it, you have to figure out who controls the data, how do you reach them, what do you ask them for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're trying to do with this study is make that about 10 times easier. And one of the things that we're doing is we're putting together a series of roundtables, open data roundtables, that are going to bring together these agencies with these companies. We now have the White House very supportive of this. They're going to co-host the first of these roundtables and possibly more. We've got public commitments from Department of Commerce, Treasury, Transportation, Labor, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture that they really want to participate in these. And we're recruiting companies now from our Open Data 500 survey to join as well. And the first one's going to be with Department of Commerce, and the idea is going to be that we're going to bring together the people who provide data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and Census and Bureau of Economic Analysis and all these places. We're going to bring them together with the people who are trying to use their data every day. And the agencies are very enthusiastic about this. And part of the reason is that they're now operating under the open data policy that President Obama announced a year ago, which says every government agency has to make all its data open, timely, machine-readable, reusable, up-to-date, accurate, and by the way, you have no funds to do this. So the agencies, understandably, are saying, you know, give me a break. I love open data. I want to get the data out there, but I can't do this. What we're telling them is that if they hold these roundtables, they can work with their business constituents and also some civil society organizations. They can identify, it's probably like 10% of the government data has 90% of the public value, so they can identify that 10%. They can then focus on getting that stuff out there. It'll be transparent why they're doing that, and they can then do their bit for open data without having to like boil the ocean and look at all this data that they have, much of which is in really bad shape. Internationally, we now have 15 or 16 different countries at last count that are really interested in working with us to replicate this study there. So we're doing it in the UK, we're talking to Italy, France, Ghana, Nigeria, Australia, a number of other countries. And this, I think, is potentially really exciting and begins to give us an international model for this whole question of how do you get a dialogue going? How do you get real collaboration going between the people who have the data and the people who use it? So we have a couple of strategies for how we're reaching out to these companies and identifying the list. We've tried to reach them through social media, through emails, through experts, through all sorts of research that we've done. It is actually, there is no listserv, or there hasn't been anyway, of Open Data 500 companies. It's not like you can just go there and they're all there. It's taken a lot of work to identify them and even more work to try to get information out of them. But what we have now is we do have this thing, opendata500.com, where, as you can see, you can go in, you can filter these companies by state, by category, by federal agency. And we also have a graphic, which I might be able to show you, that actually shows the connections between agencies and companies in some interesting ways. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to cover companies' backgrounds, data sources, what they do with the data, all these different kinds of things, including their profit models. We are finding a number of interesting different business models. Companies use advertising. They get revenue from lead generation. There are a number of companies whose job is, whose revenue model is to make data more useful for other businesses. So, for example, Enigma.io, which is just down the street here, I think they have about 100,000 data sets or some crazy number like that. Most of them federal, but increasingly state and local as well. And what they're essentially trying to do, or what they've been able to do, is to take all of these data sets and actually put them into a really usable form that makes them interoperable and on a common platform and so on. And I think then Vivian is going to talk you through a number of these really great examples. Before we do that, is there a way I can just get on the website itself without screwing this all up? Because I just want to show you the home page. And then if there's any questions on my part of this, we can talk for a few minutes too.
500, right?
Yeah, opendata500.com.
It's already open, prepared.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, great. Okay, great. Thank you. So I'll take it from here. So here you can see the graphic you saw a minute ago. And, you can see, for example, if you watch these squares on the bottom, if you want to sort by education, they all rearrange and like magic. But the thing I want to show you on the home page is this thing. Okay. So this is something we call the Open Data Compass. And what we're trying to do here is we have some great designer and developer over. Well, I didn't want to do that over at the GovLab. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how do you show the intersection, or the interaction. So this stuff, this is the 15 categories of open data companies. So it's like education, healthcare, real estate, etc. This is about 30 government agencies. Some are so small they don't have. Some are such small providers of data that they don't have the names here. But we have things like Department of Commerce, Defense, Education, Health and Human Services. These are the agencies that actually provide open data to the companies on the left. And what you can see if you sort of mouse around this is you can see, so there's like Department of Commerce, and there's all the different, Department of Commerce actually supplies data to all 15 different categories of companies. Here's Department of Health and Human Services. You can see, of course, they provide a lot of data to companies in healthcare, but they do provide data to companies in other sectors as well. Or now you can do the other thing. You can like go to let's say energy. They're getting stuff from Department of Energy, but also Department of Commerce, other places as well. Housing and, well, that's not so much. Geospatial mapping companies get a lot from NOAA at the Department of Commerce, and so on. And then if you go actually into one of these, you can see that this is showing you the Department of Commerce provides data to 13 companies in our study in the finance and investment finance and investment category, which is at the lower left. So we had a lot of fun with this. But it's really making a serious point, which is that the interactions between these government agencies and these different categories of companies they go in many interesting directions. So right now, what we're doing is we're setting up roundtables just with these agencies one by one. But eventually, we want to do something that goes across government, across categories, and really shows how it all works together. So that's what we're up to. That's kind of the background for what Vivian's going to talk to you about. But before we go on, any questions or any comments on any of the material I've just sort of gone through? Yes?
It seems like a big overarching problem in government is that they're just not very computer savvy. And it's not just in the departments, but I mean, this is a little technical, but I'm just curious if you think about it. But
yeah.
Like a giant one that's gotten a lot of publicity is the Supreme Court and just courts in general, where in order to get there, you have to be kind of old. And
right.
And that also, they really don't understand
some of the fundamental technology.
Yeah. Are there any promising solutions to that? Or do you have any optimism about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think a couple of things. One is I think we're sort of in a big sort of demographic shift right now. I mean, older people are always going to be less tech savvy than younger people, but I think we're seeing a really big gap right now just because everything has accelerated so quickly. People talk a lot about digital natives or people who are like, grow up with digital technology. So I think that's, more and more of those folks are going to be getting into positions of power, although the Supreme Court's going to just take a long time. Supreme Court's always kind of a regressive institution anyway, so I think that's just sort of by its nature. I think what's been interesting to me, so I worked at the FCC, and my whole interaction with politics before that had been like as a spectator sport. And I always sort of thought about, focused on the presidency, focused on Congress. It is really surprising, and you see it when you work at one of these agencies, that these agencies have a lot of power. They can always get slapped down by Congress or with the executive agencies, by the president. But they do tend to have a lot of power. And they also are increasingly, one thing that has happened in the Obama administration is they've been bringing in more and more people who really are smart about technology. And they've done things like there's now a group in the General Services Administration called 18F that is just a group of, smart, really tech savvy, pretty young people who are just like the A-team for technology issues in government and are probably going to start solving this stuff. What I think has happened, though, is that in these agencies, even though you have really good, smart, dedicated tech people who really want to open up open data and would know how to do it if they were building it from scratch, they're not building it from scratch. They're like kind of draining the swamp of these, really bad legacy systems with pretty bad data that are not even interoperable within a single agency. So one of the things we're trying to do with these dialogues or these open data roundtables is kind of get to a point where you don't have like the businesses, blaming the government agencies for having this lousy data, where we can kind of acknowledge instead that everybody knows the data's lousy. They're not lousy. It's not as good as it ought to be, let's say, and that really, hopefully, the business people and the tech people in government who are there now can work together to try to find out some solutions. So I think there is probably more tech talent in government than they get credit for, largely because the stuff they're dealing with has so many problems from the last 10, 20, 30 years. But we're trying to help them get past that. Hope that was probably more than, that was a long answer to a good question, but hopefully it's helpful. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Yeah.
How do these federal agencies compare to, I guess, local agencies? I know New York City has been pretty active about opening up their data sets.
Yeah.
They have their website. And is New York kind of leading the way with other cities as well?
New York is really a leader. The big leaders right now are probably New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and a couple of small cities scattered around that have just decided to do this. Palo Alto is one. It's easier on a state and local level. And what we're seeing now is some of the big companies that are working with government data, like Socrata, for example, if you all know them. They've started out doing a lot of work in the federal level. They're now internationally looking, particularly at cities. A lot of people think that city data, I think for good reason, feel that city data is just going to be much easier to work with. You have much more natural interaction with the people using the data, and it's not as complex a mess. The messes are smaller, and they're easier to clean up. But we'll have to see how it goes. What we've worked on in this Open Data 500, we've looked primarily at the federal level, because even though it's messy and difficult, when you have a success with open data application at the federal level, it's huge. So the example everyone talks about now is the Climate Corporation, which has become a billion-dollar company by using open weather and satellite data, and they've basically used it to figure out how to do precision agriculture. I mean, they can do mathematical models of agriculture and locations on local farms. I mean, they can use satellite data that literally gets down to areas of farmland that are like the size of this room. And they believe that they can now accurately estimate weather and farming and soil conditions well enough that they can increase the profitability of farms by like 20–30%. So, that's federal data. I mean, New York City is doing great. They're not going to put up a weather satellite anytime soon. So, we're working at that on that level because the potential benefits are huge, but the problems are also huge. So, other questions or thoughts? Yeah.
The McKinsey article you referred to
Yeah.
made some pretty bold projections around particular sectors that stand to benefit the most.
Yeah.
Do you have your own thoughts on sectors that stand to benefit the most in the short term from making use of data?
Well, I don't have like an economic estimate, but I think from the point of view of what's likely to see the biggest changes, I think it's very likely to be healthcare. That people are predicting and I don't particularly have. I sort of am guided as a former journalist, sort of by what people tell me. But when I ask people where do you see the most potential for disruption, it looks like healthcare is going to be it. For a couple of reasons. One is healthcare is so expensive. We got to find ways to bring the cost down. Still, even after the Affordable Care Act, it's still not all that affordable. And also because it's an area that just has not been where they just haven't pushed the envelope yet in the way they can. So what's really huge here is the possibility of kind of turning big data into open data in ways that you can do predictive analytics around potential health outcomes, the outcomes of different kinds of treatments for different kinds of patients. Watson, which apparently got tired of playing Jeopardy, is now like playing doctor. I mean, Watson is like, that technology is being used to develop diagnostic and treatment recommendations that are, potentially revolutionary. So you're really talking about something that could transform medical care in that case. The big problem is figuring out how to take all this data that is privacy protected and to aggregate it and anonymize it at a level that is still granular and specific enough to help you do this kind of analytics, but that is nevertheless anonymized enough that, people's medical history is not all over the web. And that's going to be a big one to try to figure out. Yeah.
Are there good tools within government to incentivize agency behavior? Is there a way to reward an agency for? I mean, it's good for Obama to say that the agency should become more technological and do things more rigorously, but people respond to carrots and sticks. So is there something like a tax credit or something analogous to that?
There's not enough incentive for agencies. The government has tried to do, they have challenge.gov, which is incentivizing innovators. So what they'll do is they'll put out data sets and they'll say, okay, we're doing a prize, for whoever comes up with the best apps. And that's been kind of helpful. But I think that's a really good point. I mean, we need to figure out how to incentivize the agencies. And what we're trying to do with these roundtables is a step before I don't think we're offering the carrots yet, but we're trying to take away the sticks. So one of the problems these agencies have, which is really paradoxical, is if they open up the more data they open up, the more people are going to yell at them for how bad the data sets are. So what we're trying to do is to get this into a dialogue where, hey, we all know that. It's not anybody's fault. Let's try to fix it. And then I think they can start being more open, and I think they'll start getting, the credit for it, I hope. But we do need to think about the incentives too. Yeah.
So the assumption is that there is going to have to be some private interest that focuses on helping
Yes.
public agencies to come up to speed. So, I guess what's the sentiment amongst like people that like in the private industry about doing that, because there really isn't any money involved in bringing that up to speed, right?
Well, it's not clear. I mean, there's several companies now that where their business model is exactly that. I mean, Enigma, Enigma's one. Enigma's really interesting, and Vivian, I think it's your first example, so you can talk about them. But they won TechCrunch Disrupt a year ago, which is kind of an interesting indication that they're seen as really promising. They're really, really brilliant people, but they're basically betting that their business they're going to be able to make a business of making the data more available. Now, what's interesting is you do get this paradox. It's all open data, right? So it's all an open data culture. So if you're a company that's all about making open data more usable, it's kind of hard to say, hey, we've made all this open data more usable. Great open data, except now we're going to charge you for it. It's not open anymore. So a lot of them are looking at kind of freemium models, where they make the basic data that they transform into usable stuff. They will make that more usable, but then they will have a suite of analytic services that they can do extraordinarily well because they know the data so well, and they'll make money that way. But they're making a bet on that. Socrata, Junar. There's a company called OpenGov in California that's doing the same for city financial data. So I think actually we're going to see a lot of the technical problems solved by these companies. The remaining problem is data quality, right? So you still have kind of garbage in, garbage out. I mean, a company like Enigma can put all these data sets on a format in a format that makes them really usable and interoperable. But if it's bad data, it's still bad data. And that's going to really need the agencies to work on fixing that. I'm going to take like one more question, and then Vivian, I will turn it over to you and get ready for my call to Australia, where they want to do Open Data 500 in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but any other questions? One more question?
Who is the lucky one? We had the last question.
Okay.
Come on, guys.
Okay, go.
So
Yeah.
the book looks interesting. I'd love to read it. Can you back copy directly from you? Or should we go
I had like a sign-up sheet, I had cards, I had book copies, and I left them all in my office. So I could run back because it's 2 blocks away. But no, it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. But also, if you want just real simple things, my Twitter handle is @JoelGurin. You can reach me at joel@opendatanow.com. And if you forget any of that, just go to opendatanow.com, where all of that stuff is. And I certainly hope you buy the book, but if you don't buy the book, I hope you enjoy the website. I blog about this stuff constantly, and hopefully it's helpful. And I'm now going to, Vivian, please take it from here, and thank you all very much. Thank you.
Of course. Hello.
Thank you, Joel, for joining us in such short notice. I reached him last weekend, and he said, "Sure, I will come." So my turn. Those are the firms I want to cover and tell you more about their story. Let's pick which one you want to hear more now.
Just learned a little bit about Enigma.
Yes, Enigma is my first one. So can you guess what each of them do by the name? Like which industry they're serving? Yes. How about honest buildings? Oh, Capia Cube? This one? No, guess.
Finance.
Who said finance?
Is it Star?
That's correct. How about this one? Aidin. Who said that? You were very knowledgeable. How about this one? Top bench. Guys, don't look at your phone. Technology. What type of technology?
Furniture.
I guess most of you have heard this one, right? Palantir. Palantir? It's in New York. They have obviously New York. How about get raised?
Funding, grab.
Actually, it helps you to raise your income by negotiating with your boss. How about this one? Bright scope. Good. So most of them, like you can guess which industry they are serving, and let's work them. So, the names means puzzle. So their goal is to solve the puzzle in the data. They have about a little bit more than 12 people now, and they host our meetup twice. One for the Cassie or O'Neill. Anyone been there? Okay, next time. So basically, they scrape all public available data, including those hosted on Socrata. Socrata charge government for hosting data, and Enigma don't charge anyone. So they charge subscription fee. Like if you want to see who is selling stuff to Nike, and you have similar product, you want to know who are your competitors, you can do a search. You can search for Nike supplier. I have opened up the webpage. So this is Enigma search engine. If I do Nike, supplier, you have the global manufacturing contact dataset. You can click and look into who are making stuff for them. Like the first one, golf sales. So those are the people making golf glove and equipment for them. And I'm most interested to see who's making stuff for them in China. So I could click on country. Argentina, Brazil, Canada. You can keep scroll down till you find the category you are interested. They also like purchase cargo data. So if you search for cargo, like if you're in fashion industry, you want to know who are the buyers are buying for next season. You can find it on cargo because they need to make the order half year earlier. It tells you what are they buying, like tab, remote controller, nose cow. What is this? Don't know. You can find China tea, clean the seashell, tons of stuff. So I think Enigma give our group a lot of free subscription account. Right now they are charging premium subscription, like New York Times, if they want to access a lot of data. But you can just go there and sign up for an account. So I think their next step is to charge less for subscription and try to make their analytic layer. Like if they find out mapping and they want to help them so they can get geographic mapping analytic layer on the top of their data and charge people for using the services. Right now they have about 100,000 dataset, more than 20 billion individual data points. So they want to develop a robust data resources and impressive set of tools. I guess they will open the API very soon. So if you are a designer, like the gentleman in the back, you can definitely use their API and make your own tool. How do they serve people? So they're not only hosting public accessible information, they also purchase information. Like cargo data costs about 1,000 per month. Cool. So they also want, I mentioned right now they're charging subscription fee, and they want to gain profit from analytic and premium service more. Last year, May, they won a TechCrunch award. So today, when I cover all these companies, I want to cover their background, like who are the people, what data resources they are using, what are they doing with the data, how do they serve the clients with the data, how do they make money, and whether they're dying or they're surviving, or they're getting any award. Cool. Next one, ZocDoc. How many of you tried this one? Do you like it? No? Oh, anyone from ZocDoc here? I know someone there. What's the reason why you're not liking them? They're not helping? So, okay, I think their concept come from how can you make appointment with doctor as easy as possible. So if you feel pain in your ear, like who are the doctor you can approach, who can treat you? They try to make the process easier. So they don't charge like you and I, they charge doctors and their health system provider, like health aliens. Basically, you can say what kind of doctor I'm looking for and what's my insurance. And they will tell you whether the doctor accepting their insurance or not. And their ratings. So they get public review data and also see Center of Medicare and Medicaid Centers data. I never use them, but the interface looks nice. Do you all have bad experience using this website? Good, okay, awesome. Because they're making money, they must have done something right. Okay, next one.
Where are they pulling their data from? Or are they offering you?
So they get data from first they get data from the doctor, like their office location, their specialty, insurance preference, and the patient reviews. Also, they get data from CMS, the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Center. And they also have the booking system. Usually it costs a lot of money for a doctor to maintain their own booking system. So I feel it's fair to charge the doctor. Okay, so what else? They got a lot of awards, like Best Website 2012 and the Best Apps 2012 and Most Admired Company, the Best Modern Healthcare Place to Work. Okay. Next one. Is that you say it's real estate? Yes. So they were founded 3 years ago. Right now they have 3 employees. They don't charge people who get their constructing contract, like the developer. They only charge contractor and their vendors. So basically, if you're a vendor, you need to sign up with your portfolio. Like register your firm, like what are the projects you have done in the past, and what are connections, and whether you have won this contract or not. And other people can start to bid for the project. So it looks like this. Like if someone posts a project, like I want to turn the cafeteria into a restaurant. What is how big is the place? Where is the location? And if people are doing this business, they will submit like budget, what kind of previous works they have done. The site looks pretty nice. So I feel like it's like NG list. People get reviewed and build up their reputation in this community. and you can find experts quicker.
So who's the target client?
Their clients, I
Consumers or businesses?
That's B2B. essentially.
Oh,
So if you're like a landlord, you have a building, retail space that's there, you can fix it. Find something.
okay. Like you can also say I'm looking for professional, and in which area, and they will introduce you to the qualified professionals. Not sure if you can find expert to remodel your home from there.
Probably architects
Okay.
use them because that's what architects do. Yeah, they talk to engineers and contractors. They lead that contract.
Okay, cool. Next one, capital. Oh, sure. So next one is capital Q. They are, I think, three of you from finance. They are part of the analytic insight firm. Their website help you to screening a lot of portfolios. If you search for Google, they will go over possible details for you. Like I open a sample page. You can go to the capitalcube.com and I search for Google. So the first analytic, the summary is free. You can see the basic trend compared to its competitors, and valuation, earning leverage, dividends action, how profit the business is. But if you want to know more, like peers analysis, trends, analytic reports, it's like they are showing you very vague background. They want to attract you to pay.
But what differentiates this from like a Yahoo Finance or Google Finance?
Can someone from finance firm help?
Yahoo Finance is providing analytics.
A lot of these reports are available when you do actually investments in that they provide a lot of
So they can provide a lot of research there.
they provide a lot, it's going to be more, maybe less biased, but I'm not biased.
The only added value I see is straight the SEC docs.
So you're saying they're doing like what Moody's does. They make customized reports for you?
Yeah, like you, I mean, that's limited investing, and when you gives you a variety of different research materials to look at for a particular company, which seems like what this does, but it's unclear what the advantage of paying this extra amount just for research.
I see. So if you are a customer, will you buy this kind of services?
I have to look into it.
Okay. So this is its mother firm. Like they show you they can do a comprehensive company analysis, and they have their iPhone, iPad version. Cool. So let's go back here. So they're using data from SEC and factor set. I think those are the main data sources they're using. And they have their own software. You can transform all the data into reports and graphics through their software. And they do dividend analysis, earning quality analysis, and they cover more than 40,000 major firms. Also, they license out their produced content. Like they sell to Samsung. If people download Samsung's finance report from Capital Cube, they will get revenue. They also sell analysis to Dow Jones if Dow Jones publish their content. They get award, like recognized as using federal data in innovative and exciting ways. This picture is from their website. Okay, next one, Bloomberg. How many of you use Bloomberg Finance Data Terminal? Cool. So they are making money by delivering data, news, and analytic. You can find a lot of plugin on their data terminal, right? So they have large public corporations report about how sustainable they are, from environment or social impact or government integrity data resources. It's called environmental, social, governmental, ESG data. So they're growing really fast. The size was increased. Right now, more than 300 terminals are used globally, and they generate 6.3 billion US dollar just in 2008. And they got, as you can imagine, they also got a lot of rewards. Next one, Aidin. Who said Aidin is for healthcare? Can you tell us more? But how can you tell us about healthcare? So the founder said the reason he started this website is because his uncle has anemia and they have difficulty to take care of him after he was discharged by the hospital. So they want to bring transparency to healthcare facility and provide patients about what kind of help they can get from those facilities. So they get government open data, patients review about hospital, and they created 4-patient discharge process flowchart and try to be their central portal for all of them, like nursing home. This is nursing and rehab center. They will give you like Medicare status, how well is the quality of care, how much staff they have, like above average, they're not short-handed. Inspection data, environment, based on public data from CMS and their patient review data. So they also help the hospital to reduce the length of stay and prevent readmission. I used to work for hospital. Like readmission is really expensive. Most of the time, CMS won't pay for readmission if readmission happened within 30 days of the first admission. Also, like each hospital stay is about 4,000 to 5,000. They won the grand prize winner. They are the grand prize winner on the Kaggle competition. So they have a list of what they're offering, like if you are a patient, how to choose the best care for yourself. If you're a provider or hospital, how can they help you to reduce the readmission and length of stay? And how can they speed up your discharge? Usually discharge takes doctor's signature, takes main nurse signature. So they want to power up this process. They also want to help the provider to reduce your marketing and administration expense. So if you're a nursing home, people don't know where you are, never heard about you, they will help you to promote that. Next one. Calbench. So they are very special because they try to interpret a data format called XBRL, Extendable Business Reporting Language. Any of you have seen that? So basically, it's a very complicated data structure. Capture all the information about how the company's doing, all the financials information. So they process the raw data, mandatory collected by the government through this special format, and turn this into very easy read format. And they also help SEC to do error identification and correction. I think they have a really nice demonstration on their website. So they have a plot like this, how it works. Once SEC produced the XBRL format, they will use artificial intelligence to detect errors. They normalize the data. They have their big data infrastructure. They can do analytic and reporting. And they provide different forms and platform for investor, CFO, auditor, and academias. So I feel like they're doing really customized work, even they're using the same data set. Okay.
Are they making that data public? Or is it just a service that's providing?
I think you can download XBRL dataset.
SEC data is very organized. All the reports are broken down. And, there's different sections obviously, and all those are very, all that's enough.
Okay, so Joe used to work for Consumer Reports. Basically, everything like you purchase, they have a rating. Like you're purchasing refrigerator, you're purchasing your new laptop. Their profit model is they only get money from subscriber. They don't have any shareholder or anyone sponsoring them, so they can be really fair. They have more than 500 employees. They also rank all the hospitals. So if you are a subscriber, you can find like ranking for more than 4,000 hospitals in the US. Next one, get raised. Basically, you want to find out how much people are get paid if they are at your same like background, years of experience, similar industry. So get raised collect data from labor of statistics, and tells you other people's input like Glassdoor, and they grab data from job posting. Usually they will post a pay range on job posting. So they have a salary engine. If you like sign in there, say give them enough information, they will tell you whether you are underpaid or I'm not sure if they will tell you you're overpaid. But they claim they help people to get 6,700 more after they enter their information. Oh. Next one. So they were focusing on women. So they feel like women are more possibly to get underpaid. So this is their statement. Palantir. So I think this is the most well-known firm, like for this group of people. Can you tell me something like what do you know about this firm? Their news is everywhere. Have you heard any story about them? So if you go to their like website, they are helping intelligent agents to detect who's doing cyber attacked? Who's doing terrorism? Who are the people you should stop giving them visa? And they do very, very fancy machine learning algorithm tools, and they serve big firms. Like they have the information infrastructure to help you quickly respond to disaster. So they was found about 10 years ago. Right now they have more than 500 employees. They help to combat terrorism, prosecute crime, fight fraud, and eliminate waste. They use all kind of open data. So it's like a crowd. We can't really tell what they're not using. Last year, they were reported to be valued at 9 billion. And they are making money by sales of the software and investment from the shareholder. They get a Visualization Analytic Award and their Innovation Award in the past. So next one is called Archimedes. So what they are doing is they try to model your healthcare data. They get data from CMS, data from the clinic trial, National Health Nutrition Examination Survey. They have two products, one called Archis, the other called Aidin Go. So one is for healthcare simulator, basically tell you if you give this type of intervention, what the outcome should be. And they also give guidelines to individuals, like how should you get treated. So this is more about their services. They get Best Care Application Award 1.5 years ago. Next one, SigFig. You can tell it's finance, right? Because it's picked in suit. They get historical foundation and the price data. Anyone can explain what is load fee? Data on load fee. I need your help, finance people. So they get data from Lipper, a few finance data provider. How do they serve their clients? So they say, I will diagnose your portfolio. I will tell you whether you can make more and give you personalized advice based on your own situation. Like if you're 40, if you're 20, you're at different finance situation, and they will give you clear, actionable investment advice. So this is a typical portfolio dashboard, and they will tell you before you use our services, your portfolio looks like this. This is the optimized portfolio. They don't charge any management fee. Actually, they make money through publishing advertisement for their partner and referral fee if you decide to go to a new broker. They also get tons of awards. Best apps last year, most innovative company in finance, the best investing apps, and 8 most useful finance apps. Have any of you used this firm application? How do you like it? So why? Okay. Okay, next one, Psych Signal. So I think about 1.5 years, there is a firm claim they can predict the stock market by Twitter, and they went bankruptcy. This is another firm doing similar things. So they pull data from social media conversation, like Twitter, chat room, stock tweets, and they say, oh, we have NASA developed signal processing software, help us to filter the noise. We also have our sentiment analysis machine. So they said we can deliver your sentiment analysis real time, and the NASA algorithm really helping to filter the noise. And on their website, they use the Kaggle top 10 rated data scientists to back them up. Next one, Carfax. Have you used Carfax? I use it. I use every time if you want to buy a used car, you want to check the past history, whether it's so they collect data from like auto auction, collision repair facility, insurance company, rental firms, state inspection station. They collect all the titles, flood damage, and service record. They tell you how much it's worth based on the condition you reported and like nearby area, like how much they're selling this type of car for. So they're making money by selling the report. They also offer a new service called Carfax Hot List, which means you can list your own car. They can help to promote and sell it. They also have safety liability rating. So for different new models, they want to tell you how safe it is, whether you should buy it. So this is they're one of the top 5 website people if they want to buy a new car or use the car. Zillow, you must use Zillow for renting price or purchasing price, right? So Zillow are getting data from Bureau of Labor Statistics, Federal Housing Finance Agent, and the Census Bureau. So let's take a look at Zillow's website. Like if you put some address, you want to check how much it was before, how much is the fair rent price, and what is the historical price trend. And they also have like in-house picture, and if they have a lot of like click on see data resources, they will tell you where it comes from. But I use Zillow all the time. I think they're wonderful. Cool. So how do they make data? How do they make money? They operate mainly on advertisement. They are the largest real estate and rental advertising network in US. Last year, they was valued at 2.3 billion. They have tons of awards. This is only the list of awards they got last year. Brightscope. It's for finance. So many finance firms. So they are mainly focused on 2 parts. First is retirement plan and wealth management. So they help you to manage your 401k or 403b. They are making money by selling their market intelligent product and sales intelligent product, help you to make better decision about your retirement. They are the first firm to convince Department of Labor to collect and publish your 4400 data form. Okay, next one. So we cover all the firms we collect for US. Next part is for UK. UK have a initiative called Open Data Institute. So they incubate a few open data firms. This one, they get data from NHS. Like if you have watched the London Olympic, they have like a part of like nursing, dancing. They are the national health services. They use Codera or they use Hadoop, Cassandra to do cloud computing, and they also want to tell you whether they are saying they are analyzing data on zero carbon infrastructure. They are very eco-friendly. So they want to find out the area where the expensive drugs has been prescribed. They should change for generic medicine. They get Hackathon Award and People Fund Award. The second firm from UK is called Locatable. They also was incubated in ODI. So this is a data resources form. Like the first layer, they're using places. Like they want to know whether the location is suitable for you to live. They want to tell you how much you will spend on the transportation, how much you will spend on the electricity, the schools, the house, the property tax. So the first one is place layer, amenity layer, school layer, house price layer, property layer, and electricity tracker layer. They collect all resources and want to make them into one dashboard. And they want to help you to find cheaper deals for all the services. Like how can you get lower insurance for your home? Whether you can get lower mortgage for a firm. The step to search on their platform is pretty easy. You log on and enter a location you want to live close by. Also, it will show you what are the places fit your budget with the criteria you want. Like you have 2 kids, you need at least 2 bedrooms. What are the housings you should consider? Cool. So they try to make your life easier to manage your own home. The third firm from UK is called Open Corporates. The founder built several similar firms in the past, like they work for you, who's lobbying, and they try to aggregate data from the government website and API, and they also request data through the Freedom of Information law. So right now they have data access to over 60 million companies. If you want to look at the firms, whether you want to lend money to them or not, Open Corporates like clean everything up for you. They have 67 million firms information right now. This firm called Due Diligent, they want to provide you prerequisite information before you want to invest in small or medium-sized business. So this is the how it look like if you log into their website. They have the past 20 years digitalized financial record. Like how many employees they have, their turnover rate, cost of sales, gross profit. So you can tell whether they're grow healthily or not. They charge people, like you're an investor, you want to check different firms' information, they will charge you for a subscription fee. Cool. They get nominated for a lot of startup award, so they're still at early stage. Okay, last one from UK is called Carbon Culture. So basically, they want to help you to calculate your carbon footprint. Like, they want to tell you how much carbon print you have in your firms. So as a group, you can help to reduce their carbon print. Or at home, they can also help you to monitor the carbon. So they will give you a high-tech meter to monitor their carbon usage in your workspace. They are making money by measure and report on your energy and carbon performance and publish it on real time with app and website. They are saying after the firms using their reports, 40% of the staff will take up and 10% saving in gas usage. Right now, carbon culture is being deployed in seven more government departments. The last two is about my hometown, Shanghai. And on April 30, 2004, Shanghai established a new public credit and information platform. Because they just get started. I don't have much information, but I think it's a good start. Also, I invite Joe to Taiwan Open Data Aliens. So last December, I went there and gave 2 talks, and they really like it, and they are inviting both of us back. They have an agreement with the ODI in UK, the Open Data Institute. So Open Data Institute will help Taiwan government to open up their data, like food safety. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you so much. So please check out their website and see, like, I think, like, Enigma is really interesting. ZocDoc looks very nice. I should start to use them. They also remind you, like, when should you do eye exam, when should you do your annual check. So keep yourself on the track. Cool, thank you for coming. And also, guys, please help me to thank my 2 interns. They helped me tons of efforts into the slides. Yes, Joe, come back. So I will do the similar talk in China next week. Like, we invite David Smith, Hadley Wickham to China. And this is the same topic I'm going to talk about, like why we should do more open data in China. People will feel more safe about the air conditioning and the food safety. Cool, thank you. Yes, thank you so much.